I'm just considering the seagull in the landing window of our house, which I hoped might be a dove. The seagull actually points another way theologically, not to the dove-like appearance of the Holy Spirit described in the Gospels as descending upon Jesus, but a bird whose aspirations are more like those of humanity. I'm thinking of the key character in a children's book for adults, which became very popular in the early 1970s. Its author is Richard Bach, and its title is Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Jonathan Livingston Seagull was no ordinary gull. He was quite different from the rest of the flock because he had an aspiration not just to gather food and satisfy immediate needs, but to be perfect in flying. Indeed, Bach himself and Russell Munson, whose photographs illustrate the book, were expert at flying and would have agreed with the sentiments expressed in 1930 in The Testament of Beauty by Robert Bridges, in which the poet writes in archaic language, spelling out the identification of humans with birds. Birds are of all animals the nearest to men, for they take delight in both music and dance, and gracefully use schooling leisure to enliven life with the earlier artists. Moreover, in their airy flight, which in its swiftness symboleth man's soaring thoughts, they have no rival but man, and easily surpass in their free voyaging his most desperate daring. Although he hath fed and sped his ocean ships with fire, and now disturbing me as I write, I hear on roaring airplanes, and idly raising my head, see them there, like a migratory flock of birds that rustle southwards from the cold fall of the year in ordered phalanx, so thin ranked squadrons ply, till sound and sight failing me, they are lost in the clouds. Bach actually sees flying as a means of perfection, and in attempting this perfection, Jonathan unfortunately suffers many injuries and dies many times. When I first read the book, I thought it was rather like a Tweety Pie and Sylvester cartoon, in which Sylvester the cat chases Tweety Pie the canary, but doesn't see the brick wall right around the corner. Tweety Pie flies to the top of the wall, and Sylvester not only hits it, but makes a great impression in it, as bricks from a cat-shaped hole fall slowly upon the ground. He should be dead, but happily gets up in a different form. The chase starts all over again. But what the book was actually, I have now discovered, is talking about Hindu and Buddhist religion, of ideas of reincarnation, and also of living in successive worlds until we become perfect. Jonathan may have lost his wings and seeking perfection and be dead as a result, but in the next part of the story he resumes as before, pushing flying as a concept and action beyond the absolute limit. As such, it probably appealed more to Christian audiences than it should have done. But there are three important messages in it. One is the importance of selfless love. St. Paul calls it agape, which makes Jonathan a perfect mentor for younger seagulls. Indeed, such love should be central to all religions. The Dalai Lama has spoken of it as the one good thing to have come out of the present pandemic, as people minister the needs of others, even to those of whose faith is different from their own. That is, instead of persecuting them. The second message is of the importance of freedom. That sense of freedom we all have when flying like Jonathan above the clouds, though the experiences of liftoff and landing for humans are often quite fearful and very different. This sense of freedom is not quite the same as the Christian sense, which is freedom under the guidance of Jesus. It is spoken of in the second collect for morning prayer. Our God is one whose service is perfect freedom. The meaning of this came to me many years ago when walking along an outer passageway of the Parthenon in Athens, between the outer wall of the temple and a row of Doric columns. A gentle breeze played upon my ankles and my feet, giving me a sense of freedom. But the passageway wall and the columns gave me a sense of security and being guided. The third is the importance of perfection. Now, Jesus would certainly have agreed with the idea that we should try and develop our gifts as best we can. Hence the parable of the talents. So Jonathan learns flying in all sorts of wonderful ways and turns out to be the best flying seagull that ever was. He is asked, "Are you the son of the great gull?" by other gulls to whom he acts as mentor. He actually avoids answering the question, but any proof that he is lies in his single-minded approach to the act of flying. The question really is like the Christian one of Jesus. Are you the Son of God? And Jesus proves that he is, but in the most strange ways. In his death on the cross, in the forgiveness which he offers, and his promise of a heaven where there is a place prepared for each and every one of us. For Bach, heaven is not a place or a time, but it is perfection. For the Christian, perfection can only be achieved through the grace of God. In the end, only one of us alone has ever shown perfection, and that was Jesus himself. And the perfection of Jesus is a matter of difficulty for some, because he is human as well as God. Yet, as the poet Alexander Pope said, to err is human, to forgive divine. Therefore, In aiming for perfection, we must accept and tolerate others, as indeed Jesus did. Father, forgive them, says Jesus on the cross, for they don't know what they're doing. Often we don't know what we are doing, especially what we are saying, until it is too late. We do not forgive others as we should, and if we're not careful, we project those failings which we find hard to forgive in ourselves onto others. Matthew 7, verse 3. This is not only in Jesus' teaching, but also in Jungian psychology. Jonathan Livingston Seagull may not be a Christian book, but it remains a fine teaching aid for Christians.